Hey everyone, my name is Kimberly Shipley, and today I want you to join me while I talk about something that happened to me, my heart attack story. And the reason why I decided to share this with you today, I've had several events in my life the last few years that's really been challenging. And in this story, my doctor, he looked at my husband and he said, she's very lucky. She's lucky to be alive. And so I want to share this story. Now, I do want to point out in the beginning of this video, if you think you're having a heart attack, stop watching this right now and please contact 911, go to the hospital, because I am no doctor, I'm no expert, I'm just sharing my story of what happened to me. And I was 48 at the time, and it started off about, I'm gonna say around 2, maybe 3 weeks, which I'm 51 now, so this is almost 3 years ago. It was the night before Thanksgiving when the actual heart attack happened. But let's back up for about maybe 3 weeks. So my experience of this was 3 weeks prior to that, and I don't even remember what I was doing that day. I felt pain. And it wasn't necessarily in my chest. It was running down my left arm all the way to the hand. Just a very bad pain. I almost felt like if I broke something ain't right. It was very painful and very sore. And it seemed like it ran now, to come back and mention, like in a vein line maybe. So, and I mean, it ran all the way to the tips of my fingers. And I think if I remember correctly, it was even like a burning sensation, but a lot of pain. I thought, what have I done to my arm? And yes, a heart attack did pop in my mind at that moment. So I even took some baby aspirin, but my chest wasn't hurting. And so I didn't think a lot of precaution with it. Well, maybe it's something else. I was bad to put off stuff, and I'm not now. If I think I could possibly be having a heart attack, I would be on the phone with 911 or driving as fast as I could. So anyway, that was 3 weeks prior to the actual heart attack event. So anyway, I just kind of let it slide. At that time, he's 8 now, 8 years old, but I had a 5-year-old child. And my husband was still with us at that time. I'm widowed now, and in another video, not this one, I do want to share his story because he is in here to share it. I'm lucky. I feel like I'm alive for a reason. And, I have a couple of different health issues. This was one of them. And I went to see my pulmonologist today, and great review. I'm okay. But he told me, he said, you ought to share your story on YouTube. He knows I do YouTube videos. And I'm like, maybe I should. Maybe I should really get it out there. He said, a lot of people could, take interest. And I agree with him. My doctor's a really good doctor. No, he ain't a heart doctor. He's a pulmonologist for my lungs, and I have an issue with them too. That's the reason you might hear me cough. I had to clear my throat, sorry. I didn't bring a drink in here with me, so my throat is so dry today. So anyway, my point is, after, I want to get to the point of the heart attack though, but now I have some more short stories to share. So in separate videos, not this one. So, if you would like to subscribe to my channel to know more about my health issues, keep them up. Of course, I do also mobile home videos. I fix my home. It's just me and my little boy, who is 8 now. But I lost my husband to cardiac arrest. And that's going to be another story I share, because he isn't here to share his story. I got blessed by him. But let me get on to my story and I'll explain. I feel like I'm here for a reason. That God kept me alive for a reason, because I've been through several episodes of where I was told I shouldn't be here. And so I feel like I'm here for a reason. And maybe talking to you on this video, maybe it might help you. Maybe you've had the symptom of that running down your arm and you go seek medical attention. I don't know. Maybe you just want to join my channel and watch our life unfold. Single mom now. And watch us, do a video about mobile homes. I'm repairing my home as a woman and doing everything I can. So, maybe that's, the niche you want to create with me. But I'm sharing my story. And because I feel like I'm here for a reason. I should have been gone. I shouldn't even be alive, according to 2 different doctors, one from a heart attack and one from a lung infection. And that's going to be in a separate video. So I have been told this like twice in the last 3 years. I shouldn't even be here. So I feel like maybe I'm here for a reason. So anyway, 3 years ago, I had to have that pain down my arm. Now let's fast forward 3 weeks in the future. It was the day before Thanksgiving, the night before. Me and my husband went to a convenience store. I was in the car. I was in my Camaro. And my son was in the back seat. And my husband had walked inside to go get some in the convenience store. And all of a sudden, I was sitting in the car. My chest, just serious pain. I don't remember if it was down my arm or anything at that point. I just remember my chest was hurting severe, to the point I opened the car door up. I got out of my car because I couldn't find relief. I've had natural childbirth. I've got 4 grown kids. And one of those was natural childbirth. So, I have a high pain tolerance, I feel like. This was bad. This, I would compare it, if you're a woman, I'd compare it to probably close to childbirth, but in chest. And it seems like I could breathe okay. So I don't think it affected my breathing in any way. But I just remember the burning, the pain, the pressure on my chest area. To the point I opened up the car, got out, and I could stand up. I hadn't collapsed or nothing. But I remember, of course, it was November. And here in Kentucky, a lot of times November, it's cool that day outside. And I just couldn't find relief. I laid my body over on my hood of my Camaro just to get the coldness and maybe a little relief from the pain. My husband walked out of the convenience store and he said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "My chest hurts. It hurts bad." And so we got in the car and then it stopped. I'm like, "I'm okay now. I'm okay." It lasted, I want to say, 3 to 5 minutes. That one initial pain, solid, nonstop, pressure, pain, everything right here for about 5 minutes. And but I did find a little relief from laying my chest across the hood of that car. The coldness, I guess, and the pain. As we know, if we got hurt or something, cold ice pack, release pain. I don't know what made me think of that at that moment, but that's what I done. And I found a little relief, but it didn't stop it. Nothing like that. There wasn't nothing I could do to stop it. And so then we went straight home, which that's about a 5-minute ride, roughly 5-7 minutes. I live about 3.5 miles from that convenience store. So we get home, I get in. I think I'd pull my shoes and socks off. You know how you are when you just walk in the door from your home. And I sat on my couch for just a second, and all of a sudden it hit me again. Pain, pressure, all of it. Same, just serious pain. I'm like, I'm doubling over. Not collapsing or nothing, just, it's painful. It hurt severely. I remember I have a little Yorkie. My Yorkie walked up to me and I had to just get him back. I couldn't stand nothing to touch me. I I was in such pain. I just didn't know what to do. It's almost like my mind was going crazy at that moment. That pain level was so bad that I just did not know what to do. And I remember pushing, I mean, not, hurting him, and just kind of pushing him back because I did not want him on my lap to touch me or anything. I couldn't take it. It was awful. But it was pain, pressure, just like it was at the convenience store. So it was about 7 months apart, maybe. So initially, maybe I've had 2 heart attacks just in a row. I told my husband, he was right there. He said, let's go to the hospital. And I said, yes, I agree. It's time. And so anyway, he drove me to the hospital. Now, I hadn't no more pain or anything. I get to the emergency room. The nurse staff and things and doctors there was amazing. They saved my life. They started hooking me up to IVs and I guess getting medication there to prevent another heart attack from happening, and get me stable. So we live in a small town, so I had to go to the next town over, Bowling Green, Kentucky. And because my town is more like a triage, I consider. They can do only so much. So anyway, they stabilized me up here, give me all my medicine I needed and all that. And, I catch the nurses there, and they know who they are. I don't want to mention names and get embarrassed, but I'll tell you, she's my lifesaver. And if she even watches this video, she'll know who I'm talking about. And she's very special in my heart because technically saved me twice. And one future on down the road, but that was the first time. And anyway, they hooked me up and they're like, you got to go to Bowling Green, the next hospital over, by ambulance. So I get in the ambulance. Well, they take me in the ambulance. Sirens is on all the way. I actually sat on the phone with a good friend of mine, and she knows who she is. And she sat there the whole time with me and talked to me just to give me comfort. And, saying she was praying for me and stuff, and she did. But I just found it peace and comfort to have a friendly voice that was at least someone talking to me. And, I was able at that point, I wasn't hurting at that moment. So I was able to respond back to her, okay, I'm very scared. And actually, about, 6 months, if even that long, it may not, for May, my dad passed away in May, and this was November. So what is it? May, June, July, August, September, October, November, 6 months. And anyway, my dad had passed away from a heart issue. And he had heart, but different way than I did. So anyway, I was close to my dad too. And that was the second heart attack my dad ever went through. And I was there for 5 weeks at the hospital visiting him the whole time. And so I seen, they had to use the shock bunches of times on my dad. My dad they kept losing his heartbeat. It started out with the stents, and then they had put a defibrillator in him and so on. And anyway, to the point he didn't survive. But I spent 5 weeks while they was treating him and trying to do things for him up there at the hospital. Pretty much almost every day. I think I might have missed one day. And you gotta remember, I have a 5-year-old at home when Daddy was there. So, and my daddy was my rock. So after seeing that, 6 months later, I'm having a heart attack on my way to the hospital. And that really got me thinking, am I going to have to be shocked? Yes, when that happened to my father, I was right there watching him get shocked numerous times. And it was scary. It was very scary to watch somebody awake. He was awake when it happened, and watching it, them having to revive his heart. Because they could tell he was going out. And he was awake, but so before they lost him, they was reviving his heart back up until they could get some medication up there. So all that was on my mind on the way in the ambulance and when I first got to the hospital. I remember looking over at a nurse, and I appreciate her honesty. I probably shouldn't even ask. But, we all think about when we're in those positions. We always want to try to, what's going on with me? Am I going to be okay? Am I going to make it? And I looked over at a nurse, and I said, am I going to live? Because, I 6 months prior, just seen my father die of a similar scenarios. Not the same, but similar. She looked at me and she said, honey, I don't know. And I thought about it for a second. And I looked at her and I said, you know what? I appreciate your honesty. And I meant that. If something was going to happen, I prefer somebody to be honest to me. Of course, it still scared me. But I appreciate that lady's honesty so much. So anyway, I got up to a room. They kept me after they got me in the emergency room. Got me up to a room. They kept me, and then they hooked me up to the monitors. Apparently my heart started fluttering. And they're like, you got to go down here to the ICU unit. And that was right across from, my room was actually right across the hallway from the room my daddy died in. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you got to be kidding me. And, is what I'm sitting there thinking in my head. So I get in that room, and I'm looking over at that other room, my dad left in. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. This just seems so unreal. I'm just right across 6 months ago. I was over there with my father holding his hand from a heart issue. And so that was on my mind. I couldn't sleep. I'm thinking, is this gonna start up? I was scared. I really was. And, and your story may be different. This is my story of what happened to me when I had my heart attack. And I was 48, heart issues run in my family. So there is hereditary in it. I had a sibling that had, I think, quadruple bypass already at the age of around 40, roughly. So on my story, what I'm going to say is, after they got me into the ICU unit, it was Thanksgiving, night before Thanksgiving. And I was on a lot of IVs and all that. And of course, I'm in intensive care. The nurses is right there, constantly coming in. And so anyway, the next day's Thanksgiving. I guess the doctors, since it wasn't an emergency no more and they had me under control, they said they'll do, run that dye. Well, it was actually through the vein, in my right hand, I believe, through that vein somewhere. Actually, here, I think that's a scar. See that little spot right there? That's a scar I think it created, because I take that back, it was right here on the back of my arm. So anyway, they was going to run the dye. I was scared. And I remember telling my father 6 months prior to that, don't be scared, it's okay. This is going to make you better, and it's the same thing. So I'm the one down scared, even though 6 months ago I told my father it's going to be okay. Not to be scared, because he was scared. So anyway, I get in there and they wait a few minutes and I'm fully awake. They take me into the room where they issue the dye on the arm. The biggest thing is I think they had me on some medicine because I was a little bit, kind of, the room was going around, I guess you could say. And I could understand everything that was being done, everything that was said. I remember actually one of the doctors kind of yelling at me because I think they said you need to hold still, and I guess by accident I moved something, my arm or something, and they're kind of like, you gotta hold still, and kind of, you didn't have to raise your voice at me. I wouldn't have no pain at that point. I guess I had medication. Probably if I hadn't had medication, I would be in pain. I think that dye is supposed to burn you on the inside and be painful. So they probably had gave me some kind of anesthesia in my arm and stuff to keep that from happening. So I can't recall any pain during the procedure. I was just very nervous and trying to listen to the doctors. And I guess by accident I had just moved, somehow moved a little. And I felt like the doctor kind of yelled at me. And I don't hold that against. I know I was supposed to hold still, but I was woozy. Head and everything, like I said, was just, whoa, what are they doing to me, you know? And I mean, I was, but I was alert. And so I can remember things happening there. And anyway, I remember when after, and it didn't take long for them to run the dye. I can't remember it taking very long anyway. And they said, all right, you have 99%, you have a blockage, we're gonna have to put a stent in. Well, it went up my arm to the same place, I guess. So it went up my arm too. And the only thing I remember having a little Band-Aid right here, and I thought after all that, just a little bitty tiny Band-Aid. That's all the war scar I get, you know, I guess. So anyway, I had a 99% blockage, I was told. After it was said and done, they put a stent in. Let's see, that was on Friday, because I know Thanksgiving was on a Thursday. I got out of the hospital, I believe it was on Sunday, and of course, they had me on my IVs and all that stuff. So anyway, on Sunday, I got out of the hospital. And I do want to share this part with you. After my stent was put in, after I had a heart attack, they said mostly it's because of the heart attack itself. And then I can't remember being so tired in the hospital other than coming away from the anesthesia. Now, I did thought I heard one of my daughters call for me and standing there. And I kind of went, you know, I said her name. I kind of went like that. I'm like, looked over, and it was a nurse. Then I could visually see the nurse. She said, honey, you need something? And I'm like, no, never mind. And so I think I remember being woozy at that point, right after I had came in from having the stent put in. So I know they gave me some kind of medicine that kind of messed with me in my mind, you know, from the stent surgery. So anyway, fast forward a little bit, I'm home 3 days later. Seemed to be doing good. Of course, I'm on the medicines. The doctor gave me my medicines and all that to have to take for life, still take them. And then I get home, and I remember I see my little dog. My son had already been up and down my room, even though he's 5. I guess since I'm his mom, they weren't supposed to let him in ICU. They said as long as he's kind of behaving and quiet. Excuse me, he'd come in and see his mama. So they did look over that part. So sorry. So anyway, so I've been able to see Caleb the whole time. My son that's now 8, of course, like I said, he was 5 at the time. And my husband would bring him in, and he would be there the whole time with Caleb, you know, like they were seeing me and stuff. So anyway, I got home. I remember my dog was real happy. My Yorkie was real happy to see me and stuff. And I sat up for a few minutes, talked to everybody. And then I'm just like, I'm tired. So I went back in my bedroom and laid down. And I remember just being so weak, so exhausted, and so tired. Next thing I know, after I lay down, I think I had like a fan on me or something, just kind of, and I was covered in covers. And a week later passed. I mean, I guess I went to the bathroom and stuff, you know, but I have no memory of it. I just collapsed in exhaustion for almost a week. And mostly I think it was from having the heart attack in general itself. So I do remember that week being very exhausted to the point I couldn't do nothing. So, and, you know, other than, I do remember walking to the bathroom, but barely. I mean, I know I had to have a bunch of trips to the bathroom. And I guess my husband even brought me, you know, a little something to eat, you know, soup, anything, and would bring it to the bedroom, because I don't remember leaving the bedroom. I remember a light actually being on down the hallway, and I looked up, and I didn't know where I was at. And I'm like, where am I? It's kind of like I was still kind of woozy a little bit in the head. I was so tired, and I was like, I'm exhausted. Where am I? And that 2 days may have passed. And I looked over, and it was dark in the room, but I could see a little light in a hallway, and I could hear a noise. So I guess my husband was watching TV in the living room, my little boy too and stuff. But I remember feeling over to the side of the bed here, and my little Yorkie, Teddy, was right there in my bed beside of me. I know he had missed his mama because he's my little dog, and he was right there. And I remember putting my hand kind of doing like that, petting his head. I'm like, I'm home. I think at that moment I thought I was in the hospital until I felt my little Yorkie Teddy, and he made me comfort. And I'm like, okay, I'm tired, and I fell back asleep. It took me about 3 months to really start wanting to get on my feet again. I mean, within a week didn't have to collapse in the bed. I kind of was starting coming to, but I was so exhausted. Everything would take my breath. Trying to walk up any stairs you can forget it. I mean, it took my breath just trying to walk up any stairs. And, I was just exhausted. And I'd say about 3 months of that. That's how long it lasted. So, I mean, I couldn't even do much around the house for that 3 months. And, of course, at that point, I didn't know I was getting ready to go into another condition, not a heart attack, but something else that happened to me. And it's a lung infection. And right after the heart attack is when I started beginning battling it. And I'll explain it all in a separate video. So, if you would like to subscribe to my channel, I'm going to tell you the story about my lung infection. And it pretty much picks up after the heart attack. And then, anyway, that's you're very lucky to be alive. And then I want to share the story because he isn't here to share it. I want to share the story of my husband. He passed away of a cardiac arrest. And he's not here to share the story, but I think it would be good since I watched him. Now, I can't tell you how he felt, of course, or nothing like that, but I was there the whole time when it happened. So, at least, maybe if it could help somebody else and save their life, it's worth me sharing his story, which I know he didn't make it and he lost his. But maybe his life can be an inspiration from that. So anyway, maybe that's what I meant to here to be. Maybe I meant here to share a story, his story, my story, for somebody else to learn about it. And, if you go through the same situation, maybe you might know that pain in the arm or anything to prevent and get you medical help quickly. And then guess what? You might survive. So I'm a survivor of a heart attack, and I want to come in here and share my story with everybody. So anyway, I want to say thank you for watching, and God bless to everybody. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. And also too, like this video and comment, what you think about my story. This is hard one. It's hard to talk about. But since my pulmonologist just kind of said, share your story, maybe I should. And that way, maybe it might help somebody else. Anyway, y'all have a great night, and God bless each and every one of you. And if you need help if you're having any issues that maybe I have described, you're concerned in any way, please get help at the hospital, 911, anything. And, that's all I asked. I hope sharing this helps somebody else. Thank you, everyone, and God bless, and have a great night.